Mic'd up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Highlights from Lowlifes.
Yay.
This is episode 11, and tonight's topic, your most hated baseball personalities, non-players, since we covered the players last week. This category is proving to be difficult for many of us because our lists are much longer than 5. We probably should have broken this down into smaller categories.
Well, what's worse is that when you hear one of the voices you don't like, you turn off the sound, and you're like, I don't want to hear that person anymore. But I don't know who that is.
Yeah, and you can't really say what stupid things they said lately, so because you turned it off.
That's right.
So my fellow lowlifes tonight are Rob Lannerman, Marty Brown, and Terry Lee, or Tiger as we call him, who is back from assignment.
Hi, everybody.
The Lowlifes were put together during the pandemic. A group of us who play baseball together decided to do some Zoom calls, which evolved into top 5 lists, where there was homework before your Zoom call. And we would go through these lists, and the happy hour became 3 and 4 hours, and we drank a lot of beer, and we found out about Mic'd Up.
Yeah, this happened 2 and 3 times a week.
Yeah, 2 or 3 times a week.
And that's why we don't play baseball very well anymore.
We asked the folks at Mic'd Up if they would allow us to do a show, and they resisted at first, but after a while, they said, okay, we'll give you a shot. You can test out the software. So here we are, episode 11. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is the premiere of our soundboard, and we will be making our own personal comments about things we say and hear during this show. So be careful.
It's only going to go downhill from here. Okie dokie. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right.
Top 5 list of most hated baseball personalities, not players. And we're going to start with Marty.
Oh, okay. We can go all over the place. And I tried to not focus in on just owners or umpires. But there was one that I'll lead off with an umpire, because this guy pulled the biggest mistake when he did it. Everybody, it was on TV. Everybody saw he did it because he did it in the most crucial time. And that was the one and only Mr. Jim Joyce, who, those of you who do not remember, it was a perfect game in Detroit that day. I had the date here, June 2nd, 2010. Armando Galarraga had the perfect game going against the Indians. And there was a bang-bang play at first, and Joyce called him safe. And you look back at the replay, and this is why they now have replay, because of Mr. Joyce. Thank you. So I really shouldn't hate him. We should just kind of thank him for his error. But boy, was it at the most grievous time. So he deserves to make the list. So Jim Joyce is on number 5.
So Marty, it's what I've heard is he has since apologized for that. It was.
He apologized like half an hour later.
Yeah. And it was the most amicable between gentlemen, because even the pitcher, Galarraga, it was a no-no. He was going to go down in the history of baseball. There's only, 25, 26 in the history of baseball. And he was very nice. Congenial. Thank you. Okay, there's a word out there somewhere. Yeah, appreciate that. That it said mistakes happen. I mean, and this could have been nasty. This could have been gotten the fisticuffs, and all that. But both men realized that it was a mistake of a lifetime, and both were very, very cordial about it. So it was surprisingly, it says something about sportsmanship that sometimes comes through. Not always, but sometimes.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
Hey.
that's because everybody else gave him the business for it.
Oh, you no kidding with that. No kidding with that. Yeah. So okay, why don't you give us the business then, Terry?
Well, okay. So my number 5 is a very boring and dated announcer from ESPN, Chris the Swami Berman. Just
He's a legend. He's a legend.
he's a blowhard. all of my picks are a bunch of blowhards. And again, like I said, you hear the voice, you turn off the sound because you don't have a choice when it comes to the ESPN broadcasts. All right.
I remember growing up, he was the guy, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
was funny. He was funny, but you're right, Terry. 20 years later, you're going, okay, this doesn't work anymore. This needs to
Freshen it. He needs to
retired.
freshen up, but he doesn't change anything.
Yep.
You didn't like Bert B. Home Bly-Levin?
All right. Robbie.
All right. My number 5, former commissioner. Under his reign, we got the DH, which everybody hates.
Yep.
We got AstroTurf, which everybody hates. And we got World Series night games on weekends. Just ridiculous. Bowie Kuhn. Can't stand all the stuff that he did that really altered the game. And at least we have regular turf back, or the new improved, turf. But the DH is just a killer. These guys that with one skill continue to play for 15, 20 years, and in some cases make the Hall of Fame, which I find to be ridiculous. And Marty was talking last week. Pitchers can throw at guys with no repercussions.
Right.
They don't have to dig into the box.
Yeah.
And that self-policing piece is missing from the game nowadays. So,
Oh, really? Yeah. Big time.
yep. So I blame that all on Bowie Kuhn.
All right.
I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
I may or may not be mispronouncing his name intentionally.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm sure his family will be all right with it.
Yeah, I'm sure they're listening.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5 for me. So we are, of course, a Bay Area-based show. And the talk of the town here is John Fisher, the owner of the Oakland A's, who is basically doing everything he can to make sure that that team moves to Vegas. And to his credit, baseball is letting him do it. So there's a lot of people that are wearing shirts around here, sell the team, sell the team, sell the team. He is not my number 5 because he was preceded in his terrible, terrible ways by another guy by the name of Jeffrey Loria. I don't know if you remember him. He was the final owner of the Montreal Expos.
Wow. Okay.
And to give you an idea of how he was all about the money, he actually voted to have his own team contracted from the National League. This was back when they were considering eliminating teams from Major League Baseball in the early 2000s. Can you imagine you're the owner of a team and you vote to have them eliminated and removed because he would get a payout from baseball for doing that?
Yeah.
Baseball is just as much at fault for this because they appeased him by letting him take over the Miami Marlins or the Florida Marlins at the time, so that he would have a team. And then baseball took over the Expos, and the Lerner family came in and moved him to Washington. But he's single-handedly responsible for the fact that there's no baseball in Montreal anymore. He drove away the fans. He wouldn't make repairs on the ballpark in the ballpark on purpose. So he's my number 5, Jeffrey Loria. Look him up.
Yeah. And are you sure he's not related to Fisher? I mean, the similarities are just so striking.
All right.
Are my jokes that bad it needs a laugh track?
It does seem more natural.
I'll show you natural. You want to see?
All right, number 4. Let's start with Robbie.
Round 4. All right. So I forgot to mention, I tried to come across with this list. I tried to find a person for each number in a different category. So I didn't want to overload with umpires or announcers and all of that stuff. So I have diligently broken out into different areas of baseball. So my number 4 will be an umpire. This guy, terrible umpire. He is up there on the list, 1, 2, or 3, depending on who you talk to. He always seemed to have it in for the Giants. When you heard he was working home plate for the Giants game, you just, oh. And in particular, he hated Bochy, and he was not afraid to hide it. He had the worst strike zone that I've ever seen. I saw him, one guy, I don't remember who the hitter was, but 6 pitches, never moved the bat, struck him out. None of them were in the strike box on either the game day thing on the MLB app or on TV. Struck him out on 6 pitches. C.B. Buckner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Big elaborate. He'd strike somebody out and do the big ring him up, and it was all about CB, and he was just terrible. I hate that guy.
Yep. Agreed.
All right.
Yeah, he would be my top 5 terrible umpires list.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, I don't know, there was something, he always seemed to have it in for Bochy, who everybody else seemed to love and respect, but CB Buckner just, if he was behind home plate and Bochy was managing, the Giants were not going to get a call. So, and I am guessing there are listeners out there from that favor other teams that had the same experience.
Yep.
So he's just a bad umpire.
A bad umpire with a bad attitude.
Yeah.
So, anyway, how about you, Tiger?
All right, on number 4. Another ESPN broadcaster, and it seems like he's on every list. Joe Buck.
The first time we've heard it, but not the last.
I got me scrambling now. I got to come up with
Every list.
Yes.
I mean, you know, I did my homework, and I'm like thinking, well, okay, I'll go to this and go to that, and he's on every list, so he's on my list too, Joe Buck. All right.
We were talking about this a few weeks ago. Buck played himself, an over-the-top version of himself on the TV series Brockmire.
Yeah, I remember. I miss Brockmire. That was good.
It was, it was good that at least he understands how much he is hated.
Webb, why don't you go?
All right, well, I'm going to go with his partner, Tim McCarver. Tim McCarver. If you go to your computer right now, bring up a browser and type in awful announcing.
Or annoying. Either one of they're on every list.
Awful announcing. Tim McCarver will be listed in the first 25 spots. That is done by all of the people who wanted to make sure we all knew that Tim McCarver was awful when he announces. So right now he will come up wherever that search is done. Doesn't matter if it's Google, Yahoo, whatever. My favorite quote that I've heard about this was there was an article about poor announcing in Sports Illustrated a few years back, and there was a writer by the name of Norm Chad, who's very good. And Norm said, and I quote, "When you ask McCarver the time, he tells you how the watch works." I would watch him do Saturday baseball, and granted, Saturday baseball was the showcase where young fans were learning the game, but the majority of the people watching the game were baseball fans. They knew the game, and this was their opportunity to see teams outside of their own
market. Right.
And there's nothing more irritating than an announcer telling you that when the runner reaches second base on a batted ball, it's called a double. So I would just turn this sound up and say, I don't want this. It just does not make it enjoyable for me. I'm out.
My favorite McCarver quote of all time is, we go to the 9th inning and they're leading 3-2. If they can hold on to this lead, they should win the game.
All right. I think Marty, number 4 there.
My choice is not a umpire nor an announcer or manager, but you summed it as it was some guy that's really overstayed his welcome. And this is having to do more with, again, I'm in Reno, but out of the Bay Area, this guy came. And you said it earlier, Rob. You said 20 years ago it worked, but it doesn't work anymore. Crazy George was a guy that would go to the A's games, and then he went to soccer games, and and I think I even saw him at the Giants. Was a lot, and he had a little stupid drum, and he pounded the drum, and he was the cheerleader. He was, for anybody watching out of the area, everybody knows in Denver they have the fan that has the orange. Where's the orange barrel? Or the New York Jets fan with the white fireman's helmet. Well, this is the same kind of guy. And again, 20 years ago, it was something else. And he would every do the cheers and do the wave. And I'm sure it was at Oracle Park. There he was again 30, 40 years later. It was pathetic. He looked like he just stepped. This is Halloween, right? So he just stepped out of the grave, and give it up, buddy. At least the ball players or even the managers have a manager in their ear or say, maybe it's time to get out. I couldn't believe I saw this character, and I thought. And I wasn't sure what I was going to pick for guys I hated, but just seeing this guy again, I went, "Oh my God!"
I saw him in the 70s when I was in high school, and he came to our high school.
Oh, he came to the high school?
Yeah, with his drum, and it was just.
He had his moment. He had his moment, but that was years ago.
Marty, he's credited with starting the wave.
There's 3 or 4 people they're credited for starting the wave.
But somebody must still like him because they hire him to come and do these games.
I don't know how.
Isn't he a fixture at the San Jose State games?
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Because I remember he used to do the soccer down in San Jose also.
To do the earthquake games.
Yeah, right. Earthquakes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
according to him, he created the wave in 1979.
Wow. See? Wow. I'm a wealth of knowledge.
By the way, he spells Crazy George with a K. Crazy.
Oh, okay. If I have it in a C in my notes, it doesn't count.
It won't,
okay.
It won't compute.
Okay. All right.
We have completed round 4. And we have our new intro music for What Are You Drinking? And it's
sponsored by Almanac Brewing. Welcome to What You Drinking? So once again, our sponsor is Almanac Brewing, located in Alameda, California. They love having visitors. I highly recommend you stop by. California's leading microbrewery. Beers are outstanding. The funny thing is, we all drink something different, but none of us drink their flagship beer, the Love Hazy IPA. But you see that everywhere. Enjoy that in good health. In the meantime, tonight I'm still drinking the Oktoberfest beer, Rocktoberfest, that they make. Just because it is the season, this is the right kind of beer for that. So, what do you guys got?
I'm drinking my favorite, a Kolsch. It's called the True. Let me tell you about it. It's one of the simple pleasures in life. That's what it says on the back. You ever go to Cologne, drink Kolsch, because that's where it was originated. I love this beer. It tastes great. It's not less filling, though.
Good.
Speaking of Cologne, what are you drinking, Marty?
I got the Kolsch also. Cologne. Walked right into that, both feet, didn't I? Thank you. Our editor may have to show up the way I'm going tonight. We have to do. Anyway, the Rocktober was at the local Oktoberfest just right down the road of one of my places I hang out with. And I noticed, hey, Almanac, I'll take some of that. No, sorry, that was gone. They had 3 other visiting breweries all having their Oktoberfest beer. Almanac just went like that. So, yeah, kudos to Almanac.
Yeah.
So
Kolsch.
often does.
It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Webby?
I am drinking a normal beer tonight from Almanac. I'm drinking the Rocktoberfest as well. It's refreshing on a hot day. I've decided that the coffee stout was not something I should drink tonight. I'm here with the Rocktoberfest, which is an excellent beer. No kidding.
It is.
So if you're looking for this in the aisle, Rob, take a look at your can. I think that's a jack-o'-lantern dressed up like Geppetto, who's eating a plate of sausages. Is that right?
Take a look at my can. Take a look at Uranus.
The planet, that is.
What a boys.
All right. Well, I think it's Geppetto with a pumpkin head eating sausages. Just look for that.
I
there it
didn't
is.
realize this was going to be a lesson in astrology.
Okay.
Anyway,
We
thanks.
are on to
Thanks,
round
Almanac.
number
Thanks, Almanac.
3. Oh yes, thank you, Almanac.
Yeah, Almanac. Yes, thank you. Perfect. Yes.
And we are planning a visit to Almanac one of these days.
We're going to be
we
man
have
on the street.
We have a what you drinking comment in.
Oh, cool.
No, the guy is eating Pinocchio's nose.
Oh, is that what that
Is
is?
that what it
Pinocchio's
is?
Nose.
Yeah, we got another one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Are we sure Weber isn't drinking the coffee stout? Because it sure sounds like that.
It seems to be a little caffeinated today.
And you're a little choked up at the same time.
Yeah, we are planning to do a show live from Almanac. We just have to get our act together and get something scheduled, but we'll let you know in advance.
And we
All
will
right.
welcome a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Marty,
Both of them. Both of them.
That's the live audience from the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yes.
all 3 of them. Yeah.
Oh, Rob.
Rob.
Okay, on to round number 3. Terry.
All right. Number 3. Well, I did have Tim McCarver, Joe Buck's partner from ESPN. There seems to be a theme here, but my substitute is the Marlins man. How does this guy get tickets?
Yeah.
Where does this guy? How does this work?
Great call. Great call.
His name is Lawrence Levy. He's better known as Marlins man. He's the guy who sits behind. He gets great seats right behind the plate. He's on camera all the time in his orange Marlins jersey, and he's always there. I know, mostly playoff games and World Series games.
He has been offered big money to wear the uniform top of the local team, and he's turned it down.
Right.
Wow.
He must wear that Marlins jersey. So.
Wow.
What's worse is the imitators. There's other people doing it, and they just look like dipsticks.
They all look like dipsticks.
Not your idea. It's not funny anymore. Let it go.
Yes, agreed.
Marty?
He was brought up before, so I'm going to bring him up now, officially being the jerk that he is. His motto is, "Who can I extort money from now?" And that's John Fisher, who is the owner of the A's, and he is just looking for a big payday and found it in the citizens of Nevada, thanks to our
Hey, Marty, where do you live?
in exile. who voted public money for his stadium in Las Vegas. That they made a great splash, but it's now gone very, very quiet. And the only he's been the owner for some time, and we all, especially the audience, is predominantly the Bay Area, knows all about Mr. Fisher. But there is something that I ran across an article in Forbes that talks about. It was this last August, and talking about Mr. Fisher saying the A's are going to lose $40 million this year due to lack of attendance. And wow, look at me. But then the article goes into a little bit of detail, and I won't go into it a lot, but there are a few highlights that says, okay, Mr. Fisher needs a lesson in accounting, or maybe he's just not an owner, but actually a politician in disguise that has, because the payroll for the A's was about 57 million. But just the MLB revenue alone through the networks, because they break it up through each team, he gets 58 million on his own, right there. Plus some interesting things. Just throw these out just for fun. The streaming services are now involved. 2.9 million per team from Apple. NBC Peacock, another $1 million for the A's. 30 million for a total. And then let's talk about the merchandising. Merchandising at about $3 billion, and there's a calculation formula, but again, it breaks down to each team, and the A's got approximately $14 million. Now, without doing a lot of math, and I'll shut up and leave it at that. But if he's going to lose $40 million with a payroll of 57 million and all these income streams,
yep,
he needs an accounting class.
And you would know, you are an accountant.
I'm in
You're a finance guy.
Finance guy. Okay. But after walking away from that article, and he wasn't going to make my list at all, but I thought I at least have to share this and put him on the list, because it doesn't work. This doesn't work. He's extorting money, he's trying to get it from wherever he can.
Sidebar.
Anyway,
sidebar.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Marty, your witness protection program is kind of blown out of the water by being on this show.
There are lights coming down the street. I can see through the window, right? Yeah.
It wasn't witless.
Oh, the witless.
Yeah, he's fine.
Witless protection.
Nobody's going to find him here.
No one's protecting him there.
I'll just hide behind a slot machine. That's okay. They'll never find me. They'll never find me. Okay. All right. Webby, go for it.
All right. I'm going to choose my least favorite umpire. When we're talking about umpires, like Marty mentioned Jim Joyce. Jim Joyce made a mistake. He's hated by some of the fans because he cost a guy a perfect game, but he was at least trying to do the right thing.
Right.
I hate this guy because he does everything they tell you an umpire shouldn't do. The umpire is best if they are invisible to the crowd and invisible to the teams. They do their job and they don't become a part of the game. You'll see a lot of these umpires
thinking that it's their show.
Yeah, they think it's them, and if they feel slighted in any way, they will quote unquote fight back against the players or the manager that slighted them. I think those umpires need to be disciplined immediately. The guy I'm talking about is Joe West, Country Joe.
Oh, yeah.
The guy thinks he is the game. And, they'll go around the diamond before the game, and they'll introduce the umpires. And when the camera comes on him, I can't help but get angry because he's sitting there with his arms crossed as if he is God's gift to the earth. And then when he makes a call, you better not challenge me. I'm Country Joe West. And he's made many mistakes on the field, mostly because he's overweight and he's not in position to make the right call. Again, baseball should take care of that. But it'd be nice to see a little humility out of the guy, admission that sometimes he might be wrong, and maybe not get in a player's space when something bad happens to the player. Sometimes they strike out in anger. It's not directed at the umpire, but West always took it personally. Oh, hey, I see we have a comment from a few folks, and they're coming in color, which
Oh, I
means
like it.
What?
some of these are getting warnings. Are we using language that is inappropriate? We'll have to find out.
I hope so.
And we're burning up the software. Yeah.
All right. Robbie, I think you need to do the number 3 pick.
The number 3. Yeah, I picked an oddball one, and it's a writer, which most writers are pretty innocuous. Some write a little too elementary, but there's a lot of pretty good baseball writers out there. There's a lot of people that really care about the game, and I think this guy did at one point in time. And he is not going to be a familiar name to most people, but our listeners down in San Diego, I understand Dave Winfield may be listening tonight. Dave Winfield would probably agree with this, along with several other people from the San Diego area. There's a writer down there who was an old school writer. He's been around for a long time. He's a beat writer covering the Padres. He clearly has not wanted to move into the digital era. And by that, I mean he purposely misspells guys' names and does it in a different way each time. He sends out really weird tweets at things that aren't actually happening at the game. He'll send out a tweet about, this guy just threw 47 pitches in one inning and like the game hasn't started yet. So I'm not sure why he's not fired. And at the same time, it's kind of entertaining. And I mean, it's just like this whole weird mixed emotion. And I only learned about this guy earlier this year because in our fantasy league, I was looking for a couple of pieces of information on guys that might be available. And this guy's got some really whack job stuff out there. And I kind of went into the rabbit hole and started reading. So while I'm entertained, I don't like the fact that he's not helpful for my fantasy team. And that guy's name is Bill Center. He writes for the Union Tribune down in San Diego. And I guess he's been doing it for 40, 45 years or something like that. And even though he is just being dragged into the digital era, they're letting him get away with it. So I kind of hate that. He's not helping me. I finished in 10th out of 12. I blame Bill Center.
All right.
There you go.
Round 3.
Yep.
Good.
Round 3.
Let's go ahead and do another round.
Cheers to that.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Robbie, why don't you start us off with the first pick in round 2?
Oh, good. This guy could have been number 1 for me, but he's definitely in the top 2. He is a coach, known around here as Mini Me, the Giants coach who was completely involved in the analytics part, and that's all he had.
Is that?
And Kai Correa.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he came over with Gabe Kapler, and a couple of weeks into Gabe Kapler's reign here in San Francisco, he started wearing the same glasses. And when Gabe Kapler would wear the short sleeve batting jacket over his jersey, he'd put on a short sleeve batting jacket. He's Mini Me. But the part that I hate the most is everybody goes, how come the Giants have been so bad the last 2 years? They won 107 games just back in 2022 or 21. And I'll tell you what the difference was. When Kapler first came here, he had Ron Wotus, who was the old school baseball guy. Trust your instincts. Hey, I heard he didn't get any sleep last night because his kid was crying all night. Let's take him out of the game. Let's put this guy in there. He didn't look at splits. He looked at guys that were on hot streaks, guys that were seeing the ball well, and now old school. Kai Correa was all the numbers guy. And I think Kapler, that first year when they went on the 107 win rampage, and even the year before when they almost made the playoffs with a really bad team, he was listening to Wotus and he was listening to Correa, and he was assimilating the information and making better decisions. Wotus got moved up to the front office in 2022, and it all went to hell for it. Ty Correa was the only guy in his ear. So, besides the whole mini-me copycat look jackass thing going on that he had, I think because he had too much of Kapler's ear, I don't think that guy should be around either. So, I'm hoping when they clean out the coaching staff, he goes too, because baseball isn't all about the numbers. You got to have a feel for the game.
Yep. Agreed.
So, there you go. That's my number 3.
Number 2.
That whatever. I am not the accountant.
Oh, you're not the finance dude?
I'm not the finance guy.
That's an excellent soundboard, Marty. Way to go.
Yeah.
The crowd loves it. All right, Webby, why don't you take a shot at number 2 or 3 or wherever the hell we are?
All right, let's go back to owners again. I've heard a lot today of different opinions about this topic, but I have not heard this name, and I can't believe it. Do we have such poor memories about Marge Schott?
Oh, wow.
She's on the list.
I've talked before about how I believe, and I don't want the show to become political, but I believe certain offices and certain positions in this world should require an IQ test before you to engage in that particular job. And as an owner of a Major League Baseball team, she had no clue what her standing was and what her responsibilities were to the game. And she embarrassed her team, her city, and Major League Baseball on a daily basis by what she said. She was racist. She was clueless as to people's dignity.
What is her history?
I still remember watching a game.
How did she acquire the team?
With money.
What?
Apparently you're the finance guy.
No, I just
wasn't it through the family?
The answer is she got through somehow the committee that decides whether an owner is fit, and I think one of their decision making properties is, wow, she's got a lot of money, so they accepted her into their and they probably thought, oh, this is great, she's a woman and she won't that will give us stature here because we don't have any other female owners. I watched a pregame show one time. Can't remember who the player was because everybody was focused on what was going on in the background. She brought that big St. Bernard out on the field, dressed in a Reds uniform and hat, and it took a massive dump on the field. And there was a guy. Can you imagine your job? This is your job for the day, to follow around that dog with a poop bag.
Pooper scooper.
And make sure that it's scooped up off the turf and then hose it down.
Marge Schott even embarrassed her dog, Shotzi.
TV mode. Original sound.
So eventually she was removed from that office. There was enough evidence against her that the other owners felt, we got to act. We got to force her to sell the team. And that was great for Cincinnati. They players could have dignity again, and they didn't have to worry about losing their focus to a Saint Bernard. It was just so embarrassing. So that's number 2 in a lot right.
Yes, it is.
Wait, nice tie-in. Very good. Nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm good at. Yeah. All right, Marty. What's your second pick?
Now, my second pick is an owner too, and not because of lack of understanding of the job, but for the ultimate micromanager was George Steinbrenner. I was here's a little. I was a friend at the office came back from Florida, and he gave me a beautiful hat for the Tampa Tarpons here, and it came in the bag, and here it is, George Steinbrenner Field. Okay, what an ego that he still has a field named after it. Now, okay, but listen, we can go out. Everybody has Steinbrenner stories. Went on and on and on. And again, I'm a numbers guy, so let's do the numbers. Okay, 23 seasons, 20 managers. Ralph Houk, Bill Vernon, Billy Martin 5 times. We remember that. Those great ads that they had for light beer. They said, Billy, you're fired again. Okay. Dick Hauser, Gene Michael, twice. Clyde King, Yogi Berra, Lou Piniella. And finally, when they suspended him from the league suspended him in 1990, they finally got around to having Buck Showalter, who was there for 5 years, and that's when they started going to the World Series.
They even made it on
20 managers in 23 seasons. How many GMs? Take a guess. How many GMs? 13. 13.
Oh, wow.
15 pitching coaches. Okay, and then again, let's just leave it at that. He's an awful manager. Awful owner. It was all about him. He thinks he knows the game. He's a Jerry Jones of baseball.
Oh,
Yeah.
And look, hey, and hey,
terrible.
I get a plug and hey, did you guys saw Monday Night Football? That was fun. Hey, Terry, number 2.
My number 2. Well, this is a general manager for the Oakland A's. He invented Moneyball.
Ooh.
Billy Bean. What a dork.
Yep.
He started all the
In
analytics.
quotes.
It was all about percentages. We've all seen the movie. We've seen it live. You don't understand what's going on. All my students, they just loved Cespedes, and what do? Traded him away. They sold off all the great players that the kids love and the fans love just because of money. It's just a shame. He ruined the game for me.
Well, I think you're just angry because Brad Pitt didn't play you in a movie.
But you're right. He's driven more fans away for that philosophy than yeah. So they're done.
And that's my number 2. Anybody left here? Rob Lannerman?
No,
I think we are done with round
Robbie?
2.
Terrific. Oh, all right.
All right.
Okay. Let's
brings
take a
us-
short break, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the other shows that are on the Mic'd Up platform. That's my new intro music. I did not get to select that.
Yes, you did.
All right. So Mic'd Up is moving ahead with several shows that they are posting each week. There's some on a regular basis and some that are popping up on the schedule from time to time, maybe once every couple of weeks or so. We'll start with Jim Darby's show. Jim is a former executive with Easton Sports, and Jim's passion is Cal baseball, and he's put together a book about Cal players playing in the big leagues called Bears in the Bigs. And each week, Jim does a half-hour show where he highlights one or two of the players that he spoke with. Today, he actually talked about Marcus Semien, who is in the playoffs. And then Jim also shares little tidbits about things going on in sports. And this week, he talked about Dick Butkus and what he meant to pro football. Jim feels that Butkus was one of the major faces of the NFL, something that when people see a silhouette of Dick Butkus, they know, okay, that's him, and that's the NFL. So he believes he's one of the greatest linebackers of all time. great show that Jim put on today. He usually is on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Rick Barry has a show with his co-host Cyrus. They pop up every couple of weeks with topics related to basketball, including pros and college, the history of the game. Rick has a very straightforward opinion about a lot of things. You may not like it, but he's telling you the truth. And if you'd like to ask him a question on the show, Cyrus will take those questions and get them to Rick, and Rick will give you an honest answer, whether you like it or not.
Refreshing.
Yeah. There's a new show about pitching, baseball pitching and the mind of the pitcher. It's called The Pitcher's Mind, and it's put on by Greg Moore and Mike Nisko. Greg has been a college coach. St. Mary's was where he was recently. And Mike is a show called The Pitching Shop. The two combined to talk about pitching as it relates to the mental process, about a half hour long. It's a great show to listen to, whether you're a little leaguer or a college athlete or even a pro athlete.
If I could interject for a second, I listened a couple times, and you gained a lot of insights. If anybody out there has a son, relative, any that
Or
baseball
daughter.
or softball,
Or daughter.
yeah, baseball or softball, yeah. Have them tune in. There's a lot of insights.
Yeah, they just started a couple weeks ago, and they've had several good shows. John Rieger is doing some shows. John is a PGA teaching pro, but his passion is Florida sports and the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. He's got some upcoming shows with Wade Boggs, and he's recently had a show with Fred Biletnikoff. His focus is on people who began their careers in Florida or ended their careers in Florida or had a significant time in Florida, whether it be pro or college. Great insights, great interviews. John is currently doing, he's got two shows on the schedule. If you open up the Mic'd Up app, there's a couple of shows coming up in the next 2 weeks. So if you open up the show and follow the host, then you'll be notified of any kind of shows that are upcoming. Finally, Bip Roberts. Bip's been off the radar for a bit due to the baseball playoffs. He's been covering for both the A's and Giants via Comcast. But he had been doing a half hour to an hour show. He's got 50 shows in the archives on the app if you want to take a look back. He'll answer any questions related to baseball today and yesterday. Great guy, great insights into the game, and we're going to get him back on the platform here shortly. There's 7 other shows coming up, so open up that Mic'd Up app every once in a while and see what is in the upcoming schedule. All right, guys, we are off to the number 1 most hated baseball personality that is not a player. I know you've put a lot of thought into this. There's no right or wrong answer. And I'm sure there's no right or wrong answer, but I'm sure lots of people will spend a lot of time telling us how wrong we are. So that's good.
I've been going through that my whole life, especially when I was married. Let me bring up something about that. Now we're talking, but okay.
This is Marty's dream world. To be able to say something and have a 50s laugh track in the background.
Can I hire you guys?
All right, Harry.
All right, my
Tell us
number
about
one.
the number 1 pick.
Boy, he ranks right up there with Puig to me. I don't know how this guy. I mean, I know why he has this kind of seniority. He's been around for a long time. He's a. Well, how about this? Don't diss the commish. Ken Bowtie Rosenthal.
Oh,
Okay.
Um,
tell
he,
us more. Who is this?
he
Who is this gentleman?
he is the he's the well, it was he's an ex MLB commentator, and
Yeah.
he was a little too opinionated talking about the commissioner
Ah,
of was it ESPN? And
We'll be back right after
and
this.
sorry, and he
No,
got,
he was
got
on last
Ken.
night. Was it Fox that had the games last night? Because he was on last night. Yeah.
he moved. He had to move to another network.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
he was on the MLB network.
opinionated for you.
He's he gets under my skin.
To the point where you can't even talk about him.
Yeah, I'm speechless because I don't want to.
Well,
There's
So-
nothing good I can say.
Let me
That
ask you a
the-
question,
that-
Terry. Let me
that-
ask you a question. When you karaoke, I've got you under my skin. What's going through your mind?
I put on a bow tie.
there you go. But you're exactly right, Terry, because he was on last night, and they were talking about the bow tie moment.
Well,
it was his moment, and he's going to tell you his moment because that's his moniker is the bow tie.
Yeah,
A bow
I
tie
get it.
moment.
He has a charity called the Bow Tie something. I mean,
Yeah.
big deal.
Marty has a
Yeah.
charity called the Clip-On Association.
Yeah,
Now wait a
that's
minute. That's not. Hold on. These are not.
It's a
Oh, somebody
the-
went to Ross on
it's
Senior
the-
Day and got a
it's the-
discount.
it's the Lowlife clip-on. Okay, that's my number one.
All right.
Ken
And I-
Rosenthal. Just remember, don't diss the commish. Webb.
All right. Well, last week I cheated. Last week when I named my top 5 most hated ball players of all time, I included Tommy Lasorda because he did play baseball at one point. He never won a game, but he did play.
Yeah.
So in this week's category, I can use him again because he was also a non-player personality.
And he didn't do his homework. But
No, I just had this name insults written down, and I made a copy of them. I'm trying to remember I think self-serving blowhard comes to mind when I think of Tommy Lasorda. Not a particularly good manager, not a particularly good motivator, not a very good strategist. But if there's a camera, Tommy knew where that camera was, and he made sure his face was there saying something ridiculous.
Not particularly handsome either.
Yeah, he usually had an embarrassment of wealth in terms of talent on his team compared to other teams, and managed to make things closer than they needed to be a lot of times. He needed to be front and center for every one of these events. He just didn't add that much to what was going on. I guess he did love to be hated. I told you about the time that he was at Candlestick Park and came out wearing a jersey that said Lasadra on it.
Yeah.
And had to be escorted back to the clubhouse to get a change. And then, of course, the ultimate was the All-Star game when the broken bat went hurling down the third base line into the third base coach's box where he is in his glamour, and it knocks him over and goes to the ground. I think almost every baseball fan in America was on their feet laughing for that one.
Applauding.
So, yeah, retribution there.
Who was the batter?
It's Tommy Lasorda again. So
Who was the batter when he got hit with the bat?
Oh, I have no idea. I was just so excited to have that happen because he was probably, as they say, mic'd up at the time.
Yeah.
Mic'd up. Hey, what a great app.
May I elaborate on your point, Rob?
Please, yes. I would let the hatred flow.
Behind me is a jersey of one of the A's coaches, not the particular gentleman in question. When I went to the A's fantasy camp, Mike Davis was one of the coaches. And I brought this up last week talking about Kirk Gibson's home run in the World Series. Well, Mike Davis was on first base for the Dodgers when Gibson hit the home run. So years later, I at fantasy camp, and Mike Davis. So I did my homework, and I asked him about Tommy Lasorda. His response was,
Oh no!
Oh,
he refused to say one word.
Oh,
He just took the next question or whatever, because we were sitting at the bar and all having a good thing.
Yep.
Silent.
Yeah. So Marty,
Yeah.
who is your number one pick?
My number one pick is not an individual, but the reaction to the individual in a particular game. In pulling it up, ironically, its 20-year anniversary is 3 days away. It was the National League Championship Series in Wrigley Field, and we had a great time at Wrigley. All four of us went there, and it was a marvelous time. But that's where that incident happened, and you guys know already.
Don't imply that we were at the game you're talking about.
No, of course we were there over the last spring. It is not Steve Bartman is not the problem. It was the reaction to what Steve Bartman did. And I'm sure our audience knows all about it, but let me just elaborate. It was in Game 6 of the playoffs championship series. The Cubs were up 3-0 in the 8th, and there was a foul. There was a ball that was hit down the left field line, and that's where a fan, Steve Bartman, our fan, does what every fan does. Dues. I guess that's a finance thing. You owe me money, deuce. But no,
Marty drink much.
He tried to catch the ball. Well, did he reach over to the wall, or Jesus Lou was trying to get to the ball, and
not Jesus Lou.
No, it was Moises. You're right. Thank you, Moises. Thank you. And it turned into and I think part of it is. It was the dawn age of the internet and cell phones, and Fox was broadcasting the game and kept showing this guy on TV, and he had to be escorted out, and he was pelted with and then just the aftermath of
he was blamed for the loss, but
yeah.
Just trying to catch a foul ball.
He was trying to catch a foul ball, and a series of events, even errors by the Cubs. Who were, led to it was 8-3 at the end of that inning, and they went on to lose game. That was just Game 6. Cubs lost Game 7. Marlins went on to win the World Series, and this poor SOB to this day is still attributed to causing the Cubs the World Series.
I've always looked at this and said, you know what? If they don't want fans to interfere with the baseball, get the fans away from the field.
Yeah, play at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
You see baseball now, they're protecting themselves. They put up the big nets so that people don't get conked in the head with line drives. But
right.
Or get sorted by a bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Robbie, bring us home.
All right, well, my number one, I think, made everybody's list. I'm pretty sure he's going to make every caller's list. And I even alluded to it last week. You saw the movie The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio? This guy's biopic should be called The Bloviator. Joe Buck. Thank you.
I'm here all weekend.
The place goes crazy.
Oh my God, that guy! I swear to God, he He gives you opinions about things you didn't ask about. He's clearly biased, which is fine if you're working for a team, but when you're doing Major League Baseball, you can't show bias, and he always does. I mean, you guys know all the reasons. I don't have to go into great detail.
Rob, it's not bias actually. It's bias, but it's instantaneous bias. Whoever's ahead, they're suddenly wonderful and great, and they're making all the right moves, and the other team's a dumbass, And then you move to the other side. That the other team goes ahead, and everything switches. All of a sudden, he's supporting them and not supporting the other team. I mean, pick a line and go with that.
Absolutely. The other thing that drives me nuts is like all the greats. I mean, I wasn't a huge Vince Scully fan, but one thing that he was amazing at, and a lot of broadcasters are, let the moment speak for itself.
Yeah.
When the crowd's going wild on a big play, you don't have to talk. Just let the sound of the crowd on TV, the image of the guy running the base, whatever it is, let it play out. Let it happen on its own before you speak. But he can't stop talking. It's horrible. He's terrible. Go Buck.
Well, folks, we've gone an hour, but we're going to stay on for maybe we can do another 10 minutes or so. We want to go through the comments. Robbie, can you see the comments?
Yeah, absolutely. Our first one, it looks like a two-parter.
That would be the peanut gallery.
Indeed. All right. Our first one's from Big Juicy.
Number 5 would be Eric Kay, former PR director of the LA Angels, a drug pusher and responsible for the death of pitcher Tyler Skaggs.
Oh, very good, very good.
Worst umpire in the major leagues, what can I say? Number 3, Zach Hampel, the worst fan in Major League Baseball, the foul ball guy, and he snagged the Orioles' Gunnar Henderson's first postseason home run. That guy Hampel, that is known to push kids out of the way to get balls. Number 1 coming up.
Hey, wait. I gotta raise my hand. Once again, for those of you, we haven't done it in a while, but for those of you at home, we raise our hand. We're basically saying, I'll take things that sound dirty but aren't for 500. So, that'll bring up Big Juicy. Once for number 1.
I've got a tie for number 1. John Fisher, Oakland A's owner. And the other is first among equals would be Frank McCourt, former owner of the LA Dodgers. And with everything that went on during his 8-year reign owning the organization, he managed to walk away with $1 billion in his pockets after bankrupting the team, having Major League Baseball threaten to sue him. He walks away with $1 billion.
Wow.
That's a good call.
Pure evil.
Yeah.
Indeed. J.C. Penney checks in.
Tim McCarver, when a batter swings and misses, it's that 5-letter word, strike. Number 4, Angel Hernandez. Well, you all know about that. Number 3, Buck Showalter. Buck wouldn't let his players talk to other teams' players because it was Buck's rule. Number 2, Carlos Ramirez from Postgame Live. What an idiot. Number 1, Joe Buck, hashtag Joe Buck sucks.
Understand why JC got yellow lined in that one. I think it was 2 words. It was idiot and sucks.
I thought it was Joe Buck. Oh, another listener, Teddy Bear, checks in, one of our regulars.
Teddy Bear here, my top 5. Number 5, A.J. Przinsky as a baseball analyst. Number 4, we really don't have one, maybe one of our umpires in our league that we play in. Number 3, Mark Schott, what a maroon. Number 2, Joe Buck, Dr. Buck. And number 1, Angel Hernandez. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
I told you,
That's
Joe
awesome.
Buck is on everybody's list.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Got time for one more?
Oh, we got 2 more.
All right.
Terrific.
Vonnie checks in.
Tommy Lasorda, my number 1. I would say Joe Buck and Carlos Ramirez. Oh, that guy just drives me absolutely nuts.
For those of you outside the Bay Area, Carlos Ramirez is a guy that does a post-game show for the Giants, and
Oh, that guy, yes.
he's tough to watch.
I can't stand him.
By the way, I believe at the end of Teddy Bear's comment, he did open an almanac beer.
I believe you're right. And knowing Teddy
Good
Bear,
man.
it was a
Good-
Colt.
Good man. Good man.
All right, so I'm going to bring it home. I held off this one. I thought this was a good way to finish. Hammy as a comment.
Taking a page from Tiger's playbook, I'm going to go with number 5, Joe Buck. Number 4, Joe Buck. Number 3, Joe Buck. Number 2, Joe Buck. And number 1, Carlos Ramirez. Very annoying.
Man, I tell you, Joe Buck is on everybody's list.
And Carlos Ramirez, in hindsight, should have been on my list.
Hey, if you guys are up for it, do another 5 minutes of honorable mentions, because my list is huge here.
Oh,
Commissioner,
always bragging.
the current commissioner, Manfred. What?
Oh yeah,
Yep.
most definitely.
I'll go first. Honorable mention, Joe Buck. Okay. and Puig. Go ahead, Webb.
So, for you Bay Area newspaper readers, I call these guys the Disturbers, and you can put any word you want in front of the Disturbers. Glenn Dickey and Lowell Cohn, whose sole goal was to get you agitated.
Yeah.
They would make up things, as Rob talked about earlier, that hadn't happened, or they weren't aware of because they weren't allowed in a clubhouse at a certain point. So they would attack people because of their religious beliefs, anything to get somebody to read them. Because, of course, any publicity is good publicity.
It's all about them. Yep.
Yeah. Eric Gregg, the umpire for the World Series a few years back, the Marlins versus the Indians, the strike zone that was, I don't know, somewhere between first base and third base. Ruben Hernandez had 15 strikeouts if he just threw the ball in the vicinity of the home plate.
Who paid him off?
Yeah. John Sterling.
Yankees win.
My favorite is, listening to a grown man try to struggle to come up with nicknames that a guy is branded with for the rest of his major league career. There's an A-bomb for A-Rod. Oh, God, no. Marty Brenneman, Reds announcer, who thought he was a little bit more important than the baseball game at a certain point and had a segment during the broadcast that they would talk about during the game called Gangsters versus Gangstas.
Stupid.
You had to determine if he was talking about an actual gangster from the 1920s and 30s.
Oh, my God.
Yes, and this is during a baseball.
During the game.
See, it's such a fine line, though, because if we did that, it's a segment that's hilarious. If he does it, it's in a game. That's not appropriate.
All right, what else you guys got?
How come nobody had Charlie O'Finley?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he had a dynasty in his hands that could have lasted 10, 15 years, and he let it go. Because he was just saving pennies and losing dollars.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't on there.
Disrespectful.
Yep. Bud Selig, for the heavy-handed way he cracked down on the steroid era, he really dropped the hammer on those guys.
And we were in Milwaukee, and we again one of our trips, and we had a great time. And there was on the second level there was the Bud Selig experience there, and I kind of kept thinking this is how they train people to steal major league teams from Seattle. But it was just my thought.
My other one was Scott Boras.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, he's ruining small market teams.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else? All right.
I'm good.
I thought we had a great time. That was a great time, guys. I enjoyed that. That was really good.
It's good to know that we can hate so much. Yeah.
So we'll probably have another show about hate because it seems to be very popular among the listeners.
Our listener count spikes when we hate things.
We will be back with you next Wednesday, October 18th at 6 p.m. Pacific. Until then, have a great time. Look for the announcement about the next show. See you later.
Keep drinking your almanac. Thank you.